At the end of the Cretaceous period, gigantic beasts roamed the southern half of the North American continent. From Utah to Texas and New Mexico, these giant sauropods shook the earth under their immense weight, towering above predators and neighbors alike. These titanosaurian sauropods were named Alamosaurus sanguinensis, and they were among the last surviving non-avian dinosaur species. Due to the time period, and because it lived in southern North America, it's been speculated that Alamosaurus herds might have even seen the asteroid impact that caused the extinction of its kind, as well as the rest of the dinosaurs. Numerous remains of Alamosaurus have indicated that it probably reached sizes comparable to Argentinosaurus and Puertasaurus, which would have made it one of the largest dinosaurs known from North America. While its enormous size would not save it from the KT extinction, its enormous size would have provided defense against the most famous predator of the late Cretaceous period, the Tyrannosaurus rex. While too big to take down as an adult, old, sick, or juvenile Alamosaurus could have sometimes fallen prey to large predators such as the Tyrannosaurus rex. To prevent this from happening, Alamosaurus traveled in large herds, and like seen in most animals today, these herds would concentrate the weak, old, and young towards the middle of the pack, farthest from the reach of predators like Tyrannosaurus rex. Nevertheless, a hungry or overconfident Tyrannosaurus rex might have tried to take on a full adult Alamosaurus, which would have been an encounter to behold, a real-life clash of the titans. As such, the scene is recreated in the mounted skeletons of Tyrannosaurus rex and Alamosaurus fighting in the visitor center. This amazing display is pretty much the first thing that guests see upon entering the original Jurassic Park visitor center. If you'd like to keep learning more about this dinosaur, then this video will feature a complete paleontological profile on the Ojo Alamo lizard, and an attempt at recreating its original environment in Jurassic World Evolution 2. Alamosaurus lived in the southern regions of North America and has been found in various fossil formations such as New Mexico's Ojo Alamo Formation, Texas Javelina Formation, Black Peaks Formation, and pretty much all of the southwestern United States. These giant sauropods had their reign from approximately 73 to 64 million years ago during the late Cretaceous period. They don't seem to be present in more northern fossil formations of the same time, such as the Hell Creek Formation, and paleontologists theorize that it might have been due to Alamosaurus preferring a more semi-arid climate with open plains instead of the forested environments and semi-tropical climate that the northern locations offered. While thousands of fossils belonging to sauropods have been discovered in North America, Alamosaurus is currently the only known titanosaurian sauropod in North America to have lived in the late Cretaceous period. This dinosaur had the standard look of a sauropod with a long neck and tail and relatively long limbs, much like any other titanosaurian sauropod. However, its body was unique to other sauropods since Alamosaurus sported a set of huge osteoderms or bony spikes and armor on part of its back and neck. While the armor was a first for Alamosaurus in general, it was not the first time such creatures have been found with osteoderms. Some titanosaurian sauropods possessed this trait, with various species having various kinds of armor plates. Some had a small scattering of plates, while others had ornate spines. Alamosaurus is thought to have had bulb and root osteoderms, consisting of large spines running down the shoulders, back and tail, and some plate-like elements higher up on the neck. This made for a formidable, almost fortress-like creature that was nearly indestructible. Furthermore, based on fossil evidence, it's been estimated that Alamosaurus grew up to be 80 feet long and weighed up to 30 tons, with its head being 41 feet off the ground. This is about 10 times more than African elephants, who are the largest living animals alive today. Such dimension would make Alamosaurus one of the largest animals to have ever walked this earth in all of history. The enormous body of Alamosaurus was designed with one thing in mind: grazing on treetops. It was pretty much a walking stomach, with its neck extending from the trunk at a fairly high angle, which allowed it to browse on the highest conifers, ferns, and ginkgos, which were out of reach for most herbivores. Since moving their bodies required a lot of energy, Alamosaurus would stand still and swing its neck from side to side, eating everything within its reach. When all of the food was eaten, they would simply take a few steps towards a new food source. While no Alamosaurus skull has been found, rod-shaped teeth have been found with Alamosaurus remains and probably belong to this dinosaur. Alamosaurus used these small rod-shaped teeth for cropping and stripping vegetation of trees, but not chewing. The discovery of polished stones inside the ribcage in several skeletons of sauropods suggests that they had large muscular gizzard containing stones to mechanically break down fibrous plants. These stones accomplished the grinding of food instead of their teeth. Alamosaurus would need all the help it could get from these gizzard stones, as giant sauropods like these needed to process over 1,800 pounds of plant material daily in order to sustain their enormous bodies. Additionally, recent studies have even shown that titanosauran sauropods like Argentinosaurus had a poop output of about 900 pounds per day, so we should expect a similar poop output for Alamosaurus, as they are both estimated to be of similar size.
That is one big pile of shit.
For a time, these swallowed stones called gastrolids were thought to be the answer to sauropod digestion, but recent reviews of the evidence have failed to turn up any indication that stones ground up food in sauropod guts. Instead, some paleontologists have gravitated towards the idea that sauropods had vast communities of microscopic organisms in their stomach that broke down the incoming plants. This microorganism-assisted fermentation could have produced methane, and thus sauropod farts would have been the end result. But we don't know for sure. The new research relies on a stack of assumptions and is at best a rough model. We don't know what the gut flora of sauropods was like, therefore we don't know whether they farted at all. It does appear that almost all sauropods, if not all of them, lived in herds based on fossil tracks of multiple individuals going the same way at roughly the same time. The exact sizes of these groups aren't entirely known and could have varied from one genus to another, but herds of Alamosaurus could have ranged from the tens, hundreds, all the way to the thousands of members. This would have assured safety in numbers while migrating through the open plains of North America in the search for new feeding areas. Early estimates of 300-year lifespans for the largest sauropods were based on comparisons with crocodiles and turtles, which have much slower metabolisms, but the generally accepted rough estimate is around 70 years from hatchling to maximum size, which is about the same lifespan as African elephants today. These sauropods, despite the massive mature dimensions, had rather small eggs by Titanosaurus standards, around the size of a cantaloupe, and sauropod hatchlings were no more than a meter or so in length after hatching. Parental care in sauropods has long been debated. It's thought that sauropods like Alamosaurus that were this big could not afford to guard the nest long enough for the young to hatch due to the amount of food they had to pack in each day. And indeed, with some sauropods seemingly adopted age-segregated herds, it's safe to say at least some species left their babies to fend up for themselves. Sauropods are largely known to have aggregated in specific nesting areas, leaving dozens, potentially even hundreds of nests dotted throughout, each filled with a dozen eggs, possibly even more. Afterwards, the mother probably buried their nest to prevent exposure to the elements or for scavengers to easily find the eggs, and then left. About 2 to 3 months later, hundreds or even thousands of baby sauropods would emerge and make their way into the world. After hatching, it really became a game of chance. Many young sauropods would be killed in their first years of life, and in some environments, even young adult sauropods were prey. Any species of sauropod could not rely on producing small numbers of larger offspring. They had to have a lot of little ones so a few could grow up to become really big. It's thought that Alamosaurus left the nest to fate, like sea turtles. However, some species would protect any young that could find their herd and join them, while other species relied on herding with their own age groups to play the numbers game. We simply don't know enough about sauropod herding and parental care to say for sure. How sauropods like Alamosaurus would fight for mates has been a matter of some discussion. Rarely are competitions for mates meant to be done with the intent to kill. However, the biomechanics of using the neck as a weapon in such a large creature is also under some scrutiny. For now, a sort of shoving match is considered for how Alamosaurus males would fight, using sheer body mass to knock into one another until one backed down. Contrary to popular belief, Alamosaurus sanjuanensis is not named after the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas, or the battle that was fought there, but rather for the Ojo Alamo Formation of New Mexico. Remains of Alamosaurus were first discovered there by paleontologists Charles Gilmore and Charles Sternberg in June 1921, and they soon named this new dinosaur Alamosaurus sanquenensis after the Ojo Alamo, the geologic formation in which it was found, and which was in turn named after the nearby Ojo Alamo trading post, plus the fact that it was from San Juan County in New Mexico. The name of the trading post stemmed from the Spanish word for a huge cottonwood tree growing at the trading post. The Alamosaurus holotype was discovered in June 1921 by American paleontological team Charles Whitney Gilmore, John Bernard Reeside, and Charles Azealia Sternberg at the Barrel Springs Arroyo of the Ojo Alamo Formation of New Mexico. In 1922, Smithsonian paleontologist Gilmore originally described the holotype USNM 10486, which belonged to a shoulder bone, and USNM 10487, which belonged to the part of a pelvis bone. Gilmore would then go on to name the dinosaur Alamosaurus sanquenensis, but he was uncertain about the precise affinities of Alamosaurus and did not determine it any further than a general sauropod. In 1927 though, German paleontologist Friedrich Richard von Hoenigen placed Alamosaurus in the Titanosauridae family. This classification is further complicated by a major analysis that puts Alamosaurus as part of Opisthosilicoidea in a subgroup within the Opisthosilicoidinae of the Saltosauridae. This Saltosauridae family consists of armored herbivorous sauropods from the Upper Cretaceous. This group is best defined by the characteristics shared by all, like the two best known members Saltosaurus and Opisthosilicoidea. That same analysis showed that the ancestors of Alamosaurus came from South America and not Asia. Another Alamosaurus discovery happened in 1937 when an undescribed Titanosaurus fossil closely associated with Alamosaurus was found in the North Horn Formation of Utah following a Smithsonian expedition. The fossils from this formation include a left scapula and pelvis bone. Later in 1972, Dr. Douglas Lawson reported the first record of sauropod materials referred to Alamosaurus from the Big Bend area of Texas. Additionally, a partial skeleton of a juvenile Alamosaurus was found in the Javelina Formation and was reported by paleontologists in 1998. 3 articulated caudal vertebrae were collected above Ham's Fork and are housed at the Museum of Paleontology at the University of California, Berkeley, and are still awaiting to be described. While there are many remains of Alamosaurus that come from juvenile or small adult specimens, there are 3 fragmentary specimens that began to show that adult Alamosaurus could have grown to enormous sizes comparable to the largest known sauropods like Argentinosaurus, which has been estimated to weigh over 80 tons. In 1999, Dana Biasetti, a graduate student from the University of Texas at Dallas, discovered giant dinosaur bones protruding from a hillside in the Javelina Formation of Big Bend National Park. Upon careful excavation, this hillside yielded partial pelvic bones and 10 articulated cervical vertebrae of an adult Alamosaurus. This Big Bend Alamosaurus appeared to have been a massive individual, measuring 100 feet in length and probably weighing over 50 tons. Due to the extreme size and remote location of the fossil site, excavation and removal of these giant fossils by hand were nearly impossible. As a result, Big Bend National Park issued a special permit to the excavation team to remove the fossils by helicopter. In 2001, the University of Texas Dallas and the Dallas Museum of Natural History made history by Big Bend's first ever dinosaur airlift. The Alamosaurus fossils were transported on a flatbed truck to the Dallas Museum of Natural History, where the specimen remains a property of the National Park Service, but is loaned to the researchers so that it can be properly prepared and studied at the spacious museum. When the study is complete, the fossil, or a replica, will be returned to Big Bend National Park for display. In 2012, American paleontologist Thomas Holtz studied these Alamosaurus remains, and based on his research, he gave Alamosaurus a total length of 98 feet and an approximate weight of 80 to 88 tons. And just a year later, in 2013, another American paleontologist, Scott Herman, estimated Alamosaurus based on a different huge incomplete tibia that probably refers to it being slightly shorter at 92 to 98 feet and equal in weight to other massive titanosaurs such as Argentinosaurus and Puertosaurus. However, at the moment, paleontologists do not know whether the massive tibia belongs to Alamosaurus or a completely new species of sauropod. Most recently in 2018, a juvenile specimen of Alamosaurus has been reported to come from the Black Peaks Formation, which overlies the Javelina in Big Bend, Texas. The finds consist of 9 large vertebrae from the creature's neck, which are the first articulated series of neck bones from an Alamosaurus individual. Ronald S. Tykowski, the director of Paleontology Lab, and Anthony R. Fiorillo, chief curator and vice president of research and collections, described the find in the Journal of Systematic Paleontology. Through these earlier fossil finds, Alamosaurus was always imagined as a rather generic small, late-surviving sauropod. Now though, that picture is changing, with Alamosaurus being recognized as the most prominent member of a unique fauna that dominated the southern half of North America. Today, visitors can view the actual fossilized neck bones from Big Bend at the Perot Museum of Nature and Science, which opened in December 2012 near downtown Dallas. The enormous bones served as the inspiration for the centerpiece for the museum's T. Boone Pickens Life Then and Now Hall, a fully assembled skeleton of the Alamosaurus standing 20 feet tall and stretching more than the length of 2 school buses, dwarfing a Tyrannosaurus rex standing next to it. As mentioned earlier, Alamosaurus was one of the last dinosaurs to have roamed the Earth, and most likely went extinct as a direct result of the KT extinction, which most paleontologists point to as being the catalyst for the extinction of the dinosaurs. The impact site of the meteor was a couple of thousand miles from where Alamosaurus lived, so most likely there were probably herds of these giant sauropods who witnessed firsthand the meteor striking the Earth. Now, let's talk about the environment that Alamosaurus lived in to give us a better idea of how to replicate its natural habitat. All North American sauropods died about 105 million years ago. Then, after a 35 to 40 million year gap, Alamosaurus appeared in North America about 70 million years ago. Some scientists believe that Alamosaurus migrated into North America from South America after the 2 continents were joined together by the Isthmus of Panama. This view is supported by the fact that Alamosaurus belonged to the titanosaurid family of sauropods, and titanosaurids were common in South America during the Cretaceous time period. Skeletal remains of Alamosaurus are among the most common late Cretaceous dinosaur fossils found in the United States Southwest and are now used to define the fauna of that time and place, known as the Alamosaurus fauna. This fauna is not as well known as the similarly aged Hell Creek and Lance formations farther north. Back then, 69 to 66 million years ago, the region was also somewhat drier, consisting more of semi-arid upland plains rather than low-lying swamps and cypress and conifer trees. This landscape resembled today's Serengeti plains of northern Tanzania. But there were also forested floodplains that supplied many slow-moving meandering rivers that carried lots of mud, sand, and silt. This landscape resembled today's Brazos River Valley in southeast Texas. These were perfect habitats for massive Titanosaurus as well as for many horned dinosaurs and armored dinosaurs. Alamosaurus did live in North America at a time that saw Tyrannosaurus rex as well as other large Tyrannosaurs such as Aspletosaurus and Mystaherosaur roaming the land in search of prey. Non-dinosaur taxa that had shared the same environment with Alamosaurus include various species of fishes and rays, amphibians, lizards, turtles like Adokus, and multiple species of small extinct mammals like Zimixomus and Mesodma. Companions of Alamosaurus in the American Southwest included unidentified tyrannosaurids similar to Tyrannosaurus rex, the Ophoraptosaurus, which is known from just a few bones, the 30-foot Hadrosaur Critosaurus, the armored Nodosaur Glyptodontopelta, and the Ceratopsids Torosaurids, who had one of the largest skulls of any known land animal, the Barboceratops, one of the largest of the horned dinosaurs, and Ohoceratops, another dinosaur named after the Ojo Alamo Formation. Other members include highly abundant flying reptiles or pterosaurs, like the 2 species of Quetzalcoatlus, plus another unnamed variety. Of course, with their slim aerodynamic bodies, it is clear that these pterosaurs could not tackle any titanosaur larger than a baby. Rather, it is possible that none other than Tyrannosaurus rex may have held the role of top predator in the area. Dinosaur art in popular fiction often depicts life and death struggles between large theropods such as Tyrannosaurus and long-necked sauropods. This was long thought unlikely to have happened in North America, But Alamosaurus did live in North America at a time that saw Tyrannosaurus rex roaming the land in search of prey. Tyrannosaur remains from the southern states are always attributed to Tyrannosaurus rex, the largest and most common big carnivore of its time and place. Tyrannosaurus teeth may have been indeed found in association with some Alamosaurus bones, although whether this was a case of active hunting or simply scavenging is as yet unknown. A fully grown Alamosaurus may have still been too much of a challenge for these dinosaurs, but a smaller juvenile would have certainly been within their predatory scope. Finally, other dinosaurs that Alamosaurus shared its habitat with include two hadrosaurs, Edmontosaurus and the Griposaurus. As far as it is known, no Alamosaurus has ever been cloned legally or illegally by InGen, and while no breeding Alamosaurus has ever made it to the Jurassic Park movie franchise, its fossil remains have, and you just might have missed it. The skeleton of Alamosaurus stood in what was once the visitor center of the original Jurassic Park, along with the neighboring Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton. The main party walked through this exhibit as Dr. Hammond led them through the visitor center. It will later be seen during the ending climax of the movie as Alan, Lex, and Tim tried using it to climb down from the ceiling to escape a member of the Velociraptor pack, who in an attempt to follow them, jumped into the skeleton, causing the entire skeleton to fall apart. The survivors' hope seemed lost until Rexy walked into the hall and killed the raptor blocking their path, allowing the survivors to escape. After the incident, the visitor center was left to decay and the front area including the steps leading up to the entrance and water fountain walls were particularly demolished by InGen. Trees and jungle vegetation began to grow dense in the area, eventually almost covering the entire building, though its purpose was never forgotten. In other popular media, Alamosaurus appeared in the documentary Last Day of the Dinosaurs that came out in 2010, in which it is shown migrating through the plains when suddenly a meteor strikes the herd and kills a vast majority of them. The rest are shown dying through the after effects of the meteor impact. In another documentary just a year prior, the History Channel came out with a documentary starring world-renowned paleontologist Robert Bakker named First Apocalypse. This documentary explained alternate theories on the extinction of the dinosaurs, and in some of the scenes we also see recreations of how dinosaurs such as Alamosaurus must have gone extinct. Hey guys, welcome to my park. This park has been in the work for quite some time. To those who've been following along, I have our Australovenator enclosure that I did not too long ago, along with our Therizinosaurus enclosure that I did right here. So right between those two, we're going to go ahead and set up our Alamosaurus enclosure that you see right here. So one thing we're going to do, we're going to make it sort of like a Serengeti style looking habitat. So at least what I have planned for now is that all of this is going to be plains, very few trees, and then right here we're going to connect this river. We can have some lush life right here. So let's go ahead and start with our water. Let's go ahead and make this little river flow. So we're going to do this. And we're going to end it up with a little lake right around right here. Let's do that. And, let's make the river not too big. Because we're also going to have people walking through there on this side. But we'll fix that later. For now, let's actually leave it like that. Chunk some parts out. Add some more. Try to make it look unnatural, but not too unnatural. I think we're going to leave it like that. Oh, actually kind of like that. But, like that. Check that part out. And after that, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and work on our terrain. So like I mentioned, this is the Biosyn Park. So we don't have a lot of savanna looking terrain. The one closest to it is the sand. So we're going to use a lot of the sand terrain right here in the middle. So just spread it a lot throughout the enclosure because that's going to be our main terrain for our Alamosaurus. Make sure we encroach a bit over here. Again, we're not going to use all of it. This part's going to be our lush part, but nevertheless for this part we want some sand, and if you'd like we can put a bit of rock here and there, but not too much. I think sand and a little bit of dirt. You want to add a little dirt here and there, kind of like Bob Ross. Little spots here and there, because as you can see, it turns kind of green. And we don't really want a lot of green, because the green's going to be replaced by some of the plants that we put down. Right here though, feel free to go ahead and make this grass, which is right here. One thing we can do is put rock right here where the water is to give it a bit of depth. And that's about it though. The next thing we can do is just add some rocks. So let's add some rocks here around our lake. And I kind of do want to make this area a bit rockier than usual. So we're going to go ahead and do 3 sets of rock. We'll do 1 tiger rock here. And let's go ahead and finish it off with this little trail right here. One thing we could do, and I think we're going to go ahead and do it. Let's use a couple of these desert rocks. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to add 1 more right here. That's it. Let's not add too many rocks. If anything, we can add a couple more rocks over here. It's not blocking the view, right? Let's add another one over here. Okay, I think that looks good. The terrain's pretty flat, so we don't have to worry about, you know, the height or anything like that. After that, though, let's go ahead and work on our environment, our nature, our foliage. So one thing we're gonna work with are our seed plants. That's what Alamosaurus eats, as well as this type of forest. But we're not gonna use a lot of it because we're gonna use the decoration plants. So let's go ahead and add our seed plants right here. So this is mostly where you're gonna want your sauropods to be. So we're gonna want our sauropods to be around this nice little oasis. But at the same time, we do want them to roam around this area since this is their primary food source. We'll add one right here next to this viewing area, and another one right here. After that, we can add a bit of the forest, like I mentioned, but we do want to use the decorations just so we don't add too much. But we'll add a little bit because we do want to use some of the terrain. So we'll use this one, the redwood forest looking ones. And then we'll use it along this middle area. Okay, so we do one here, another one right here, and that actually looks pretty good. A couple of trees here and there, not too many. And just use it very, very sparingly, not too much. And I think we're gonna leave it like that. As I mentioned, next is gonna be the decorations, and this is all up to you. I do want a lot of the taller trees like these, so we're gonna go ahead and bunch them up right here. Not add too many, but give it some variety at least. I'm gonna add some of the smaller trees as well. And this is all up to you. This is all optional. But I think that looks good so far. As I mentioned, we're not at too many trees because our Alamosaurus, you know, they would have been eating a lot of the trees. They would have been trampled a lot of the terrain. So just use a lot of it sparingly here. Something else you could do to end it up, this video, is you can add some of these ornamental grass and shrubs. But I think we're gonna go ahead and leave it like that. I think it looks good like that. If anything, we'll use a couple here. Oh, you see, I took one of the redwoods out. So yeah, let's leave it a little bit like that. You can always use this one as well. Give it a bit more foliage. But as you can see, I think this looks good so far. If anything, you can use some cycads right here. And that's about it. You guys let me know what you guys think. I'll add the Alamosaurus in just a bit. So you guys can see how the enclosure will look with them in it. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed. Alamosaurus was a titanosaur, a long neck and long tail herbivore of the kind that dominated both the southern and northern hemispheres at the end of the Cretaceous period. Being amongst one of the biggest dinosaurs and animals to ever walk the earth, it is no doubt that Alamosaurus is a beautiful but deadly addition to your Jurassic Park. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.